Okay, I'm answering the first question. What role does the image of candles play in Holy Firm? I'm going to start on page 16, where Dillard describes how a moth flew into her candle when she was reading out of the wilderness. She just says, her moving wings ignited like tissue paper, enlarging the circle of light in the clearing and creating out of the darkness the sudden blue sleeves of my sweater, the green leaves of jewelweed by my side, the ragged red trunk of a pine. She just, so two things here. First, the moth dies, and the light that it creates allows her to see much more clearly around her. Also, further on the next page, she describes the moth in terms of like religious imagery. So she says that she describes the moth as like any immolating monk, or like a hollow saint, like a flame-faced virgin gone to God. So I think these different images, the fact that the people around the moth, burning moth, can see more clearly around them, and the religious imagery that she ties to it there are traced throughout the book as Dillard describes what it means to be an artist, or an author in her case, and how that relates to the world around them. On the very next page, after the moth story, Dillard says, describes how she asked her class, which of you want to give your lives to be writers? And then she says, I tried to tell them what the choice must mean. You can't be anything in your life with a broad axe. So in her mind, to be
an artist or a author, it means giving up your life in the same way that the moth died to produce the light that it did. Much further on in the story, she directly applies this to herself. So when she's carrying the communion wine, she says, I am moth, I am light, I am prayer, and I can hardly see. She describes how the writer, herself as a writer, bears holiness, that's page 64, and ends up shedding light like the moth. Further on page 72, she describes very particularly how the artist kind of sets on fire the world around him. So she says, that is the artist's face, his face is flame like a seraph's, lighting the kingdom of God for the people to see. His life goes up in the works, his feet are waxen and salt. So once again, there's that image of the life being consumed while the light is shed to show people here explicitly the kingdom of God, the people around the burning artist, as it were. Finally, the religious imagery moth story, an immolating monk, she says, connects to how this life is destroyed or consumed in the process of revealing the kingdom of God to those around him or her. And Dillard furthers this image by describing a nun in the same way that she uses the moth image to describe a nun, as kind of a bridge between heaven and earth, who burns like the moth and is a light to those around her. And that's on page 76. She says, held fast by love in the world like the moth in wax. Held your life a wick, your head on fire with prayer. Held utterly, outside and in. You sleep alone. If you call that alone, you cry God. So she's talking about a nun there, but she again applies that to herself as a writer. At the very last sentence of the book, she says, I'll be the nun for you. I am now. So the image of the burning moth in the candle is connected to that of the nun, which Dillard explicitly connects to the role of an artist, or an author in her case, in lighting the kingdom of God for the world to see, as she says on page 72.